Welcome to the worst sounding video on YouTube. It all echoes. If you've seen the last video, then you know that we are building a project multimedia production suite. Now we already have electricity and internet, so that's a good start. But it's a 9-foot by 6-foot closet, so it's a nightmare to get this production ready. But we're gonna do it, and I'm gonna show you how. So a lot of people put their monitors on the far wall, the narrow part, like right here, which makes sense because it gives you depth because the speakers have, the sound has further to travel before it hits the back wall, which people are, trying to avoid. However, that's not going to work in this space because it's 6 feet. So there's no good placement for monitors here where it's not going to hit this wall before it hits whoever's sitting here's ears, right? So that leaves you with one choice. If we want stereo spatial separation, we got to go with the wide wall. So this is the wall we're going to put the monitors on. We can use these racks as a structural device, and we don't have to build anything for the monitors. One go here, one go here. That'll give us spatial separation. But you don't want to start treating the room until you know where your monitors are going to go, where your listening position is going to be. Bruce Lee said that. So the monitor would go here, and it would angle out this way in the shape of a cone, and then this way towards the wall. Right here would be our optimal listening space, which is good. The goal is, and then it's going to angle upward towards the ceiling, which we have slightly more space for than we do downward to the floor, which is highly reflective. We'll deal with that later. Now, what was I going to say? The goal is for the sound to hit our ears before it hits a surface. We don't want to hear the sound coming off the surface. We want it to go from speakers, the monitors, to our ears. And then everything that's going to hit a surface needs to be trapped, deflected, diffused, or absorbed. This corner and this corner are a couple areas of concern. So that's where we're going to start. So we've got the two, sound loves corners. It bounces around, and then by the time it reaches your ears, you end up with a muddy, reverberated mess. So angling those corners and deflecting that sound can be helpful. We don't want to just stop here with the angles. What you can't see is that they're tilted slightly up and on the angle inward. Now, most people do this with foam wedges, and that's good for sound absorption, but we want to deflect and absorb and trap. They're the 3 steps that we want to do. Deflect, absorb, and trap. Okay, now, with that said, I wasn't a big fan of these wire frames because they're attached to drywall walls, which is resonant. However, these racks, I've noticed, are coated in some type of silicone, and which is like a rubber sort of feel to it. So that's going to absorb some of that impact. And I like that idea because it'll mean minimal resonance. And as long as we put a platform on this and we insulate that platform, we should be able to get little vibration, or at least negligible. Okay, so I picked this up at IKEA. This is a tabletop, and it was much bigger, twice as big, and I took it to Home Depot, and I asked the guy if he would cut it in half for me, and he did. And on the inside, you can see all this cardboard fiber filler. It's a hollow tabletop. It's just like a door which is something that I've always liked because even though it's reflective, sound can get trapped, especially low-end frequencies, inside of these two boards, keeping it bouncing around inside and not in your space. So my goal is, my vision is to use this, well, where it makes sense. And I tried it in different parts of the room to see what would sound best. And what I arrived at was using this as a sort of mini cloud variation. Now, if you're not familiar with the concept of a cloud in a recording studio, it's basically a partial drop ceiling. Panels come down from the ceiling, creating multi-levels of airspace and reflective surface, basically breaking sound up and redirecting it. And so what I'm thinking is, I'm going to put this right over each of the monitors on an angle of some kind, like this, so that it's not, the sound is not reflecting up straight to the ceiling and then back down, but rather on an angle, getting this possibly over the head of the listener. So they're going to be angled down, probably with like some wire and an eye hook or something like that. And then we can mount some lights on them and make it look all nice. The ones in the corner are going to be treated. That's just pressboard. I don't know how we're going to treat it yet. Figure that out. Right now, I'm just getting a feel for the placement, but I'm not committing to anything yet. And that's important. That's what I want you to understand. If you're not doing a permanent installation, you're not building a real professional tuned room, then when you bring that stuff in, listen to the room and get a sense of how it changes things before you start committing to putting things in place. A lot of times people will just order things randomly and then just hang it up somewhere because they think it makes sense and it looks cool, but they don't know how they're altering the sound of the room. They're just really absorbing it. There's nothing wrong with that, but I'm going to show you how we can use items like this to help us in our cause. Okay. I got a couple more boards I found laying around. I had a piece of particle board here. I'm thinking we could use these for the monitors. I'm going to cut this in half and then treat the two pieces, put the monitors on top of that. This can use as a shelf and put this right here. It's actually perfect size. It fits on here. Yeah, just perfectly. So this could be, I don't know what's going on there yet. And then maybe on the wall, this could be the screen. We could put the computer monitor on the wall here, and then the monitors would probably go here and here, respectively. And I can already hear a difference, a dramatic difference in the sound of this room. You got to keep in mind that with every treatment, it's going to change slightly. You got to listen closely. You're not going to hear it. Not one individual thing is going to make a big difference. It might change the sound of the room. Maybe it improves it by 10%, and real subtle, not so subtle you can't even hear it. But when you add 2 or 3 components, 20 to 30% difference you can start to hear, and then you can start thinking about how you can improve each one of these components. Like, how are we going to treat those angles in the corner? That's something we'll talk about in the next video. So I think that's all we have time for today. So make sure you check out the next one to see how this project unfolds. Oh yeah, and if you subscribe to this channel, when the next one goes up, you'll get a notification and you'll be sure not to miss it. Bruce Lee didn't say all that. I did. Okay? There. All right, cut.